everybody, this is Sage Valentine, and this is my review of Hannibal Season 2, Episode 12, Tomewan. We're down to one more episode as of next week, and then it's bye-bye for Hannibal, which I'm going to be pretty sad. However, thank you to NBC, we get a third season, and I hope that we soon get a fourth season because we're all going to go run and watch Hannibal and love it for next season. Anywho, a Tomewan is a miso-based soup or vegetable soup served with rice. At this point in the storyline or in the game, Hannibal has resigned himself to the fact that Will is his apprentice, his heir apparent, his somewhat significant other, to the ebony to his ivory, the yin to his yang, the up to his down. And he basically says that we are just alike. We can both be deceived and deceive, if you understand what I mean. Hannibal's kind of like wondering why Will went to Mason Verger and told him that Hannibal wants to kill him. And Will basically tells him he's curious about what was going to happen. Hannibal wants Mason dead, basically. And Hannibal says that Mason is discourteous. Whenever feasible, one should always try to eat the rude. And Will says that Mason is a pig who deserves to be somebody's bacon. Will suggests that Hannibal should kill Mason during his next session, but Hannibal thinks that Mason already has a big plan to basically kill him. So Will fantasizes, because Hannibal has him doing this exercise, and he fantasizes about killing Hannibal, having him suspended in that harness that Mason Verger has over the little piggy thingy he has in the barn. And he cuts Hannibal's throat. He basically has him like pushed back over the piggy part and dropped in so the pigs can just devour him. And when Hannibal asks, what is he thinking? Will doesn't tell him. He just sits there with a nice little smile on his face. Like, smile. So, Mason Verger comes to see Hannibal. And I guess for a session, and Hannibal slips the scalpel into his cuff. Mason wants to talk about what happened to Margot. Hannibal really doesn't want to talk about it, but he's trying to say that Mason basically says he learned about suffering from the Bible, the general conceit, and he starts talking about how he knows what's best for Margot, and Hannibal says what's best for Margot is Margot's happiness, which is more important than her suffering. Mason pulls out this knife that I think, if I remember correctly, he pulled out also to show Hannibal how his father used to poke those little piggies, and basically that's a threat to Hannibal right there, and he puts it like right by his ear, right by his neck, so that's a threat. And Hannibal asks, well, what type of pig I think are you going to stab with? And he says it takes more than a flesh wound to make you squeal. And Mason asks this really funny question. He says, what game of chicken are you and the sperm donor Will playing? He said, but I'm good at chicken. I never blink. Okay, Margot was basically scarred during that procedure. I believe they gave her a hysterectomy. I could be wrong. It looked like they did. And she said that they could have done it laparoscopically, if I got the word right, meaning, I guess, without any scars, but he wanted her scarred. Mason, I mean. So, Will tells her, you know what, survive Mason, show your brother how strong you are. She thinks that, basically at this point, Mason won and he's all that I've got. Will is at a roadblock at this point. He's talking to Jack. He says that, Jack basically tells him that he's out on a limb and it's going to break because Will killed Randal Tier and basically displayed his body like a public spectacle type thing. Hannibal is trying to manipulate Will to kill Mason Verger and vice versa. And Will's trying to manipulate Hannibal to do the same thing. Will says that once Hannibal tries to kill Mason, then Will have a good witness. He claims he's a good fisherman. Well, Jack is a better fisherman because in one of the holding rooms is Miss Dr. Bedelia Dumer. And she is another witness for this trial, I guess, that's going to happen once they get Hannibal. and she's still alive, and she had to hide from Hannibal, and she had to, I guess, make it very hard for people to find her, of course, because Hannibal seems, like I said, he's been everywhere, so I'm sure he would have found a way to get her some way, somehow, if he knew she was still around. So, Bedelia said, she's talking to Will, and Will thanks her for believing in him. You know how she said that, she believed that he wasn't a killer, and she believed that Hannibal was the Chesapeake Ripper, and she wished that she could have done more. She was granted immunity by all these different things, so no matter what she says to Will, she can't be charged for it. So she tells Will that some shrinks or psychiatrists are so hungry for insight that they try to manufacture it. She says that she was under Hannibal's influence, and the patient who attacked her, you know, that attack that they keep talking about, how the patient almost killed her and almost killed Hannibal. She said that he basically swallowed his tongue, or he choked on his tongue, but it wasn't attached to him. She killed that patient. And she believed that she made it seem like it was self-defense, but Hannibal influenced her to kill their patient. And Hannibal persuades, this is the dangerous part of Hannibal, that he persuades, he doesn't coerce anybody to do anything, but he's very persuasive. And with Will, they said he persuades Will to kill someone he loves, like it's the only choice that he has. So she's telling Will, like, Hannibal's gonna get you to kill somebody that you really, really love, and you're not gonna realize that he's doing this, like he's that good. So, the only way to get Hannibal is that Hannibal can get lost in his own self-congratulation, his own whimsy, which is the only way to get him. Hannibal's pouring wine for Will. He says that Will is waking up to who he is. Mason is a problem, and problem solving is hunting. Will says that Hannibal got Abigail to take a life so that she would owe him hers. And then Will comes to the realization that I did in the past couple reviews, that Hannibal's trying to take away everything possible from Will so that Will be alone and will only have Hannibal. I've been saying that for a while. So Hannibal is alone, and so is Will, and they are alone without one another. So, Jack is talking to Bedelia, and she said that he asked her, you know, why didn't you go to the FBI? She said the FBI couldn't even protect Will. She was like, so I knew that they couldn't protect me. Okay. Hannibal's only crime, according to Bedelia, is his influence works best when we are unaware, but she's saying that Will is pretty much here. He's pretty much aware. And she says that Will doesn't know himself the way that Hannibal does. Hannibal will only be caught when he wants to be caught. Don't fool yourself into thinking that he's not in control of what is happening. Now, those who have seen, I guess you've read the books, you've seen Silence of the Lambs, you've seen Hannibal, you've seen Red Dragon. Basically, everything she's saying is 100% correct. That Hannibal is basically in control of everything. He's a step ahead of everybody. The problem is you never know how far ahead he is from you. So Hannibal's cooking. He's cooking something called fish aspic, which I think he calls poulage, which is like fish gelatin basically. And it's like frozen with what looks like little sardines or something, or I'm not even sure what type of fish they are. They're really skinny fish. Jack reveals to Hannibal that Alana is convinced that he killed Freddie Lowndes. So we see Will cooking, and he makes stew for the dogs to eat, and he goes outside to feed them, and he sees Mason Verger. He comes to visit Will and tries to get him to go for a ride. Will's kind of reluctant, but he still gets in the car. Meanwhile, Hannibal gets a visit from two thugs, one of which is Carlo, Mason's personal thug. And he and his friend Mateo basically tried to take down Hannibal, but Hannibal is one step ahead. He stabs Mateo in the leg with the scalpel. He gets tased But he did basically kill Mateo because Mateo was foolish enough to remove his scalpel, bleed out all on the floor. And before he died, Hannibal's just like, that wasn't smart. And then Hannibal gets tased again and he's knocked out. So Hannibal is suspended in Mason's barn. Apparently, Mateo died because Hannibal stabbed him in the leg with the scalpel and hit his carotid artery. So Carlo's pissed that Mateo died. And here comes Mason Verger. He sees him like standing up there, like hanging up there or whatever. And he says they remove Hannibal's socks and his shoes. And he says those little piggies are going to go wee all the way home. He has this weird obsession with pigs. He's such a weirdo. So Hannibal keeps looking at Will. And like he keeps his eye on him just like he did in that little daydream that Will had earlier in the episode. Will's about to cut Hannibal's throat when Mason tells him, no, just give him a little bit, I guess, to arouse the pig so the pig will eat him. Well, Will decides to, even before Will decides to do what he does, Mason says, I've muzzled the dog now. It's time for you to put him down. So Will basically turns around and cuts Hannibal from the harness. So Hannibal's free. Meanwhile, Carlo comes behind Will, knocks the hell out of him in the back of the head. Will is knocked out. So when Will comes to, there's just a whole heap of blood. So, Will is when he wakes up, he's like freaked out. He's pressing the little pulley lever thing and he sees a body come up and it's half of Carlo and the rest is gone. Those are some hungry piggies. And Hannibal has Mason in his office. He puts him under some psychotropic drugs, laughing mask, laughing gas. And Mason's seeing pigs, seeing his heart. Mason's just spacing out. He says that he's enchanted and terrified. Hannibal has Mason's knife and he makes him show Hannibal what his father, because it was kind of warbled in what he said, but what his father did to the pig's head, or when the pigs were bad, or the pigs something. So Will goes home to his house. He sees Winston outside. Winston's looking pitiful. Winston is my favorite of all his dogs. Winston's just not having it. He's like outside just looking like help. So Will goes inside of his house. He hears like something like flesh and somebody eating something. All of a sudden, and this image will stay with my face, in my eyes, in my face, in my brain. And I mean what I say. To the dude who said on Twitter that Michael Pitt should play the Joker in the next DC movies, yes, I am on board with you as well. Mason cut chunks of his face off and was feeding it to Will's dogs. And it was so graphic that of course you couldn't see it on network TV. I'm sure if this was cable you'd see it. But what we were able to see was gross. Because you could see like the shadow and you see all this blood all on his face. Just dripping. Oh, it was gross. It was like he was just like peeling off parts like it didn't even hurt. So Will is all upset, and he tells Hannibal like Mason's feeding his face, his flesh to my dogs, and Hannibal's like, well, Mason broadened their palates just like I broadened your palate. Will says something about we make mercy, and there is no mercy, and Hannibal says, well, we make murder, then murder isn't real. Let me see. Hannibal tells Mason at this point to eat his own nose, and that fool cuts off the tip of his nose and eats it. Says something like he tastes like a chicken gizzard. I don't even want to know what a chicken gizzard tastes like. Gout? Anyone? Ew. After watching Rosemary's Baby and seeing her eating the gizzards, I'm good. I'm okay. I'm alright. So Hannibal tries to get Will to kill Mason. Will won't do it. So Hannibal goes up to him, and then rather than a mercy kill of just breaking his neck, he severs his spine. So it basically leaves him dead in Will's house and just leaves. So Jack goes to visit Mason. Mason's all messed up. He's sitting there in a bed with a face mask. He's got that quadriplegic, the metal harness thing to keep him up. And he's like he can still talk. And Jack asks what happened. And he tells him that he took a tumble in the pig pen. He broke his neck. He basically blames the pigs, and they ate his face. Thank God that Margot found him. He speaks highly of Hannibal. He says that I only hope that I may repay him one day. But then I may have taken that quote out of context, and that could have been a revenge quote too, considering I did see Hannibal, the movie, and I saw what Mason tried to do to Hannibal, and I said now it finally sinks in as to why Mason did what he did in that movie. But Margot comes to see him, and Mason says the only thing important is what Margot wants. And Margot says what Margot wants is to take care of you, Mason dear, just as you took care of me. So, Hannibal's talking about Achilles and Acropolis, and how Acropolis took Achilles' battle armor, and he ended up getting killed, and he and Achilles were very strong and had to be basically taken down by divine intervention. Hannibal talks about hiding and revealing identity. Basically what he and Will are doing in their killings, according to Hannibal. Hannibal says that Jack suspects that Will killed Freddie Lowndes. Will says you should give him what he wants. Give him the Chesapeake Ripper. Allow him closure and reveal the Ripper to him yourself. Let him see you with clear eyes. So Hannibal says at the end, Jack is my friend. I owe him the truth. We got one episode left, guys. I am loving this season, as gory and graphic and just, it is, but I love it. I am loving Bryan Fuller. I really hope that Bryan Fuller, the crew, they all come to New York Comic Con, because I will sit through that panel, because I really want to see that so bad. I begged. I was like, please bring Hannibal to New York Comic Con. I hope they see me as well on this. Anywho, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe to my channel, My Brand of Crazy, because this season is nuts, and I can't wait to see how it's going to end. That battle is going to be completely insane, and I don't want it to end, but all good things have to end. So you guys take care. Have a wonderful Saturday, wonderful rest of your Friday, a great weekend, and I will see you guys again when I do my reviews of Mad Men, The Following, and Survivor, and then Hannibal. And then I have to find other things to review, because all these shows will be over and all I'll have is 24, and hopefully NBC brings back Believe. But if not, I'll find something else. I'll start working on Walking Dead. So until then, guys, you guys take care. I love you all. I love all 62 of my subscribers. I would love to have more. Leave your comments. Let me know what you thought of the episode, because I'd really like to know. It's an open forum. Give me your POV, what you thought of this, and anything that you picked up that I missed. It'll be greatly appreciated. I love you all. Take care, guys. Bye, guys. Bye.